On May 1st, 1952, a quiet memo leaves the Chicago office. No headlines, just a file opening. In counterintelligence, the first page can be the start. Chicago isn't just a city here. It's a listening post. Every ring of the phone could be a lead or a trap. In this room, silence is. Morris Childs isn't recruited like a movie spy. He's fragile money problems, health problems, time running loud in the background. The Bureau learns quickly. This operation can't sprint, it. Paying an informant sounds simple until the money itself becomes a threat. Every dollar needs a story that survives questions from other agencies. One wrong detail, and Operation Solo doesn't run on gadgets. It runs on people. Two brothers, Morris and Jack Childs, learning how to carry secrets without looking like they're carrying. To stay inside the Communist Party, you don't argue. You listen, you nod, you clap at the right time, and you memorize everything, because later, memory becomes. After every contact, the Bureau strips the trip down to raw data names, rooms, gifts, jokes, pauses. In Solo, even a handshake can be intelligence. This isn't a raid. It's a long game, measured in years, then decades. Every trip is a gamble. Every return is survival. And the real danger is, in Solo, money isn't just money. It needs a believable origin, an explanation that survives curiosity, paperwork, and suspicion. One bad story, and the whole. Real tradecraft looks boring on purpose. A coffee, a pause, a harmless object moved from one place to another. The goal isn't to look clever, it's every trip is a choke point. One look too long, one unexpected question, one file pulled from a drawer, and your life splits into. The most terrifying possibility isn't the enemy outside. It's the leak inside someone who knows the file, knows the names, and knows exactly. To protect an informant, the Bureau builds a legend out of paperwork clean, neat, and fragile. A cover story isn't a lie you tell once, it's a life. Here's the irony. To keep Solo alive, standard rules sometimes bend. Surveillance that should happen doesn't. Questions that should be asked aren't. Protection can look like paperwork. One wrong question from another office, another agency, and the whole legend can crack. Not because the enemy is brilliant, but because bureaucracy loves to verify what. In Solo, trust is never a feeling, it's a process. You verify the story, you verify the source, you verify the people verifying the source. Because one weak link is. Deep cover doesn't begin with a dramatic oath. It begins with small, repeatable choices. Where you walk, who you greet, how long you hold eye contact. Normality. Every meeting has an invisible exam. They don't ask, "Are you FBI?" They ask questions that only an insider would answer, and they watch what your body says before. The rule isn't, be brave. The rule is, be consistent. Don't improvise. Don't chase excitement. A hero gets remembered. An asset survives. When the world goes to sleep, the debrief begins. Every name, every glance, every hallway detail gets pinned down because tomorrow, memory fades. And most intelligence doesn't sound like secrets. It sounds like ordinary words on an ordinary phone line. Carefully chosen, carefully timed, designed to mean one thing to you and nothing. In Solo, writing is risk. If it can be found, it can be used. So details live in the mind, then get spoken in the debrief where the Bureau turns memory. Before the next trip, you rehearse a life, like a script. Where you got the money, why you're traveling, who you know. The goal is simple. Never hesitate, because hesitation. Eventually, the operation reaches cities where power feels physical, where every hallway has ears. The closer you get to the top, the less you control, and the more one mistake. At the top, introductions are tests. A handshake isn't greeting, it's measurement, pressure, eye contact, timing. In this world, a single second can tell them whether you. Even a gift can be a trap. Accept too eagerly, and you look compromised. Refuse too sharply, and you look suspicious. In Solo, every object has two meanings, one for them and one for set. You learn the sound of surveillance, not footsteps patterns. The same pause, the same distance, the same silence behind you that never breaks. That's when you realize the building is. And then he comes home, and the trip becomes evidence. The Bureau pulls the story apart. Who spoke first? Who hesitated? Who tested him? This is how a decade-long operation stays alive, by turning. Operations like Solo survive by isolation. Not everyone gets the full picture on purpose. The fewer people who know the truth, the fewer places a leak. You don't run. You confirm. The same corner twice. The same pause at a window. If someone matches your rhythm, you know you're not alone. And you. In a place like this, privacy is a myth. You assume the room is wired, the hallway is watched, the phone is bait. The safest sentence is the one. The cleanest handoff is the one that looks meaningless. A bench, a newspaper, a 10-second window. In Solo, innocence is the camouflage, and sometimes intelligence arrives as one name spoken once, softly, like it hurts to say it. The Bureau doesn't need a speech. It needs a thread. And inside the party, trust is a currency, and it's expensive. You earn it by showing up, by agreeing at the right moments, by never looking surprised. They don't recruit you, they test. A passport isn't permission, it's exposure. Every stamp is another chance to be flagged, questioned, delayed. In Solo, travel isn't movement, it's. Back in Chicago, stories become geography. Routes, contacts, safe places, danger points pinned down until the operation can see the world like a. Chicago at night feels ordinary until you know what's inside those buildings. Solo doesn't run on adrenaline. It runs on routine, paperwork, and people who can't afford to. In counterintelligence, even mail can be a battlefield. A message might confirm a contact or expose one. The perfect intercept leaves no trace because the trace. Protecting an informant means protecting the money trail. Every payment needs a clean explanation, so clean it feels fake. Because if another office starts asking questions, the legend. Every long operation has one poison question. What if the danger isn't the party or a foreign service, but someone closer? The longer Solo runs, the more that question starts. Routine becomes armor. Same suit, same posture, same calm hands. If you look predictable, you look harmless. And harmless is how you. When power is near, humor disappears. The room becomes a test chamber. Every sentence is weighed, and a smile can save you or destroy you. Too warm, and you look eager. Too cold, and you look afraid. In Solo, even your face has to. The smartest move is often leaving early. Stay too long, and you become a hostage to someone else's schedule. In deep cover, exits are. Back home, the Bureau checks one thing first: consistency. The story must match the last story. Same details, same timeline, same reasons. Because the truth is only useful. One trip is a snapshot. 10 trips become a pattern. Solo works because the Bureau doesn't chase moments. It builds a map of relationships. Years in cover do something dangerous. They blur your identity. At some point, the asset wonders, am I acting, or have I become the role? That doubt can be as lethal. A handler fears 2 fires at once, the party discovering the source, and the Bureau mishandling him. In Solo, protection isn't comfort, it's constant tension managed. Some of the most dangerous information travels inside ordinary conversation. If it sounds too careful, it draws attention, so the words stay casual, while every informant has a nightmare sound. The phone at the wrong hour, because it might mean a new trip, or it might mean A cover story is a lie with rules. It can't evolve, it can't improvise. It must remain identical, so identical that even fear can't make. One slip can be fatal, not a lie, but the wrong details said too smoothly. Knowing too much, too naturally, can sound like training. And training is. Deep cover creates a second life. In public, you belong. In private, you calculate. The hardest part isn't lying to others, it's remembering who you are when no. Solo becomes a living document. Each debrief adds weight, more names, more routes, more consequences. The file grows. and so does the cost of. In capitals like this, power feels like gravity. It pulls you into rules you didn't write. You don't raise your voice. You don't look lost. You act like you were always meant. Access is never free. The closer you get to leadership, the tighter the air becomes. You're not just gathering information. You're borrowing time in a place that can decide you don't. Surveillance isn't always a person. Sometimes it's a rhythm you can feel. So you check reflections, keep the pace, and never give fear the satisfaction of. The safest money is boring money. Not flashy, not urgent, not memorable. Because if someone checks the story later, it needs to feel like nothing. The enemy isn't always an agent in a trench coat. Sometimes it's a routine audit, a form that doesn't match, a question asked by someone who thinks they're just. In a long operation, the scariest thought is simple. What if the file ends up in the wrong hands? Not overseas, right here. One access, one glance, and years of. An informant survives by staying useful, not dramatic useful. Names, access, timing, relationships. If you stop producing value, protection weakens, and the world. Cover hardens over time. At first, it's a story you tell. Then it becomes a pattern people recognize. And one day, you realize. The lie has a history, and history is. Sometimes access arrives as an invitation you can't refuse. Refuse, and you look disloyal. Accept, and you step closer to the edge. In solo, yes is often the. A briefcase can feel too light when it carries something heavier than paper. Because what matters isn't what's inside, it's what people think. By now, nothing is just a meeting. It's a stage with an audience trained to notice the smallest flaw. In solo, attention is danger, and the safest move is. Sometimes the message is microscopic. A tap, a pause, a glance held half a second longer. The smaller the signal, the safer it is because only the right person. There's a moment you feel it. The room isn't listening to your words. It's reading your reactions. That's when you stop thinking like a visitor and start thinking. To keep solo hidden, the Bureau sometimes breaks its own patterns. Special handling, special rules, special silence. And every exception creates a new vulnerability. Danger doesn't always arrive as an enemy. Sometimes it arrives as a friendly question asked one time too many. Curiosity can be a probe, and probes are how. The safest answer is effortless. If you search for words, you look guilty. So you practice until your explanation sounds like memory, because for them, hesitation. Each trip feels new. The risk never is. Borders, questions, watchers, tests, repeated like a ritual. The only difference is what you stand to. Somewhere along the way, the operation turns personal. You miss home, but you can't show it. Because longing is human, and human is how. Coming home isn't relief, it's another performance. You arrive calm, on time, and normal. Because the moment you look shaken, someone. As the operation matures, the questions get sharper. Not what happened, but what changed. A new face, a different tone, a pause, we're there. Solo lives between two fears. Exposure on the outside, betrayal on the inside. And the longer it runs, the harder it is to tell which one. Years of cover can collapse in seconds. A document requested, a name mispronounced, a date that doesn't match. The legend doesn't. Solo doesn't produce parades. It produces quiet victories, information that never makes the news, but changes how decisions get made. The reward is. The cost isn't one dangerous moment. It's living inside danger as a normal condition. Your body learns to smile while your problem sits. Sometimes the safest action is none. No surveillance, no new questions, no extra eyes. The Bureau chooses silence, not because it's comfortable, but because, after enough years, the operation becomes habit. Risk becomes routine. And that's the danger, because routine is where you stop noticing the edge. The worst threats aren't always clear. Sometimes it's just a feeling, something off in the pattern. You can't name it, you can't prove it, but you. A cover story works until it meets real life. A stranger asks for proof. A clerk wants a signature. A rule changes. And suddenly the legend has to survive. Some operations can't be neatly finished. As long as the source is inside, the file stays alive. Closing it would mean pretending the risk is over, and most people measure danger in moments. Solo measures it in decades. That's the long game. Not one brave act, but thousands of careful ones, stitched. After the meeting ends, the room keeps its tension. The smoke hangs. The silence feels staged, and you wonder which part was real and which part. Sometimes it's just one question. Simple, friendly, deadly, and your answer has to land perfectly like it's been true. And then you return, and fear gets translated into data. Who watched? Who paused? Who tested? That's how the long game works. Emotion in the field, precision. In operations like Solo, there's a point of no return. Once you're deep enough, you don't go back. You just keep walking forward and hope. May 1st, 1952. One internal memo. One quiet decision. No applause. Just a clock. Starting. In the long game, the beginning is always the. Operation Solo proves a simple truth. Decades are built from minutes. One careful answer, one controlled step, one sealed file, and a secret held long.